You feel nothing. The highs are gone. The signs have stopped. You wake up, and the spiritual electricity you used to feel is replaced by a flat, gray silence. You think you have stalled. You think you have lost the signal. You look at your life. And after months of intense transformation, shadow work, and radical shifts, everything has suddenly turned into a neutral, beige void. You are waiting for the other shoe to drop. You are waiting for the magic to return. But it is just quiet. You have been silently carrying this panic that maybe you did it wrong. Maybe you broke the mechanism. You feel like you are screaming in a soundproof room and the universe has simply stopped listening. I need you to look at this image in your mind. Imagine a stream of water shooting out of a pipe at maximum pressure. It is moving so fast that the arc of the water looks like a solid glass rod. It is perfectly clear. It is perfectly still. If you took a photograph of it, you would swear it is frozen ice. But if you were to touch it, the force would strip the skin off your hand. This is a phenomenon in fluid dynamics known as laminar flow. When a fluid moves with zero friction, it becomes silent. It becomes clear. It looks dead. But it is actually moving faster than it ever has before. We have been conditioned to believe that movement requires noise. We think that progress looks like white water, splashing, crashing waves, and turbulent rapids. We think that if we are not exhausted, we are not working. We think that if we do not feel the emotional oscillation of high highs and low lows, we are stagnant. That is a lie. Turbulence is not speed. Turbulence is drag. The noise of the river is caused by the water hitting rocks, fighting the banks, and colliding with itself. The white water you are addicted to is simply a measure of how much resistance is present in the stream. You are not stuck. You have not lost your alignment. You have simply entered the laminar velocity point. This is why I say you are beyond transition now. You have graduated from the noise of becoming into the velocity of being. Welcome to the post-observer phase. Today we stop trying to fix the silence and we learn how to ride it. You have spent the last cycle of your life as a structural engineer of your own soul. You tore down the old walls. You excavated the trauma. You rewired the electrical grid of your beliefs. That phase was loud. It was messy. It was full of debris and dust and noise. That was the construction phase. But now the building is built. The channel is dug. The pipe is laid, and the water has started to flow. The problem is that you are addicted to the construction. You are addicted to the struggle because the struggle gave you feedback. When you were crying on the bathroom floor, you knew you were doing something. When you were fighting your old demons, you felt productive. Friction generates heat, and that heat made you feel alive. Now the friction is gone. The channel is smooth. The water is flowing without obstruction. And because there is no friction, there is no heat. There is no noise. There is only massive, silent velocity. And this terrifies you. You interpret this lack of friction as a lack of movement. You are experiencing a manifestation hangover. You did the affirmations. You did the visualizations. You did the crying. Now you are just bored. But I need you to understand what that boredom actually is physically. Boredom is not apathy. Boredom is the absence of adrenaline addiction. You are so used to navigating your life through cortisol spikes and dopamine hits that a baseline of peace feels like death. Think of it like being in a car doing 100 miles per hour on a freshly paved highway. The engine is humming perfectly. The tires are balanced. The road is smooth. Inside the cabin, it is quiet. You can barely feel the speed. Now, take that same car and drive it 30 miles per hour over a dirt road full of potholes. It is loud. It is shaking. You are gripping the steering wheel. It feels intense. It feels like you are really driving. But which car is getting to the destination faster? You are in the sports car now. You are on the pavement. But you are panicking because the shaking stopped. You are looking for problems to solve just to feel the vibration of the road again. You are poking the stream of water. This is the danger of the post-observer phase. When you see a stream of water in laminar flow, it is so perfect it invites disruption. You want to stick your finger in it just to see the splash. You want to create ripples just to prove the water is real. Your anxiety right now is that finger. You are scanning your reality for drama, for old wounds, for problems that do not exist, creating artificial turbulence because you do not trust the silence. We call this the reality buffer. When you stream a movie on high definition, sometimes the screen goes black for a second before the picture clarifies. It isn't broken, it is buffering. It is loading such a massive amount of data that the interface has to pause to render it. The silence you are in is the buffer zone where your new reality is hardening. You have moved beyond the point where you need to constantly observe and analyze your own growth. The observer effect in quantum mechanics states that by observing a particle, you change its behavior. In the beginning, you needed to observe. You needed to watch your thoughts. But now, constant observation is creating drag. It is like planting a seed and digging it up every hour to see if it has roots. The digging is killing the growth. You must stop acting like a foreman on a construction site that is already finished. The work is done, the systems are online, the flow is laminar. If you have felt this stillness and mistaken it for stuckness, if you have felt the gray void and feared it was failure, I am telling you now, this is physics. You have reduced your internal drag coefficient to near zero. If you are ready to trade the noise of the struggle for the speed of the solution, hit like on this video to claim your velocity. We are going to break down the mechanics of this flow, explain why your synchronicities have changed, and give you the tools to stop fighting the current and start becoming the stream. Let us look at the mechanics of your situation. We need to strip away the spiritual language for a moment and look at the fluid dynamics of your consciousness. You are confused because you have been trained to associate effort with progress. You believe that if you are not sweating, you are not moving. You believe that if the scenery is not changing violently, you are standing still. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of physics. To understand where you are, we must look at a metric called the Reynolds number. In 1883, the physicist Osborne Reynolds introduced a dimensionless quantity that helps predict flow patterns in different fluid situations. It is the ratio of inertial forces to viscous forces. Put simply, it measures the competition between the momentum of the fluid and the friction holding it back. When the Reynolds number is high, the inertial forces dominate. The fluid is moving fast, but it is unstable. It crashes into itself. It creates eddies, vortices, and chaotic fluctuations. This is what you know as turbulence. This is white water. This is the roar of a waterfall crashing onto rocks. It is loud. It is visible. It feels powerful because it is destructive. For most of your spiritual journey, you have been operating at a high Reynolds number. You had high desire, which is your inertial force crashing against high resistance, which is your trauma and limiting beliefs. This collision created noise. You cried. You had breakthroughs. You felt the high of the release and the low of the purge. You became addicted to this turbulence because the noise confirmed you were doing the work. The chaos was your proof of life. You felt the friction, so you knew you were moving. But then you did the work. This is the part you are forgetting. You spent months or years clearing the resistance. You dissolved the trauma. You reprogrammed the subconscious. In physics terms, you drastically reduced the viscous forces within your vessel. You polished the interior of the pipe. Now, look at the equation again. When you remove the obstructions and smooth out the channel, the flow transitions. The Reynolds number drops. The chaotic eddies disappear. The fluid molecules stop crashing into each other and start moving in parallel layers, sliding past one another with zero mixing and zero cross currents. This is the state of laminar flow. In this state, a fluid can move at maximum velocity, yet it generates no sound. It creates no ripples. It looks like solid glass. You are looking at your life right now, and you see a glass rod. You see days that blend into one another. You see a lack of emotional spikes. You see a lack of conflict. And because you are an addict of the high Reynolds number, you interpret this efficiency as failure. You think nothing is happening. You are wrong. You have simply entered the laminar velocity point. The laminar velocity point is the specific state of consciousness where internal resistance is so low that the movement toward the desire creates no emotional friction. It is characterized by 3 distinct physical markers that you are currently mistaking for symptoms of a void. The first marker is silence. In a turbulent flow, energy is wasted as sound. The roar of a river is literally the sound of energy escaping the system. It is inefficiency audible to the human ear. When a system becomes perfectly efficient, it goes silent. Your lack of mental chatter, your lack of obsessive looping thoughts, and even your lack of desperate prayers are not signs of disconnection. They are signs of streamlined energy. You are no longer wasting your momentum on noise. The second marker is transparency. Laminar water is clear. You can see right through it to the bottom. Turbulence creates bubbles and aeration, making the water white and opaque. Right now, your reality feels thin. It feels dreamlike or neutral. You might feel like you are watching a movie rather than living a life. This transparency is not dissociation. It is clarity. The aeration of your drama has settled, and you are seeing the raw medium of reality for the first time without the distortion of your own emotional bubbles. The third marker is maximum velocity. This is the paradox that breaks the brain. Turbulent water looks fast because it is splashing, but all that lateral movement slows it down. Laminar water moves in a straight line, the shortest distance between 2 points. You are moving toward your destination faster than you ever have in your life. But because you are not bumping into the walls of the pipe, you have no reference point for your speed. You feel like you are floating in a void, but you are actually a projectile in a vacuum. This brings us to the diagnosis of your suffering. You are not suffering because you are stuck. You are suffering because you are experiencing withdrawal from the friction. You have a biological and emotional addiction to the struggle. You have wired your nervous system to believe that safety requires hypervigilance and that progress requires pain. Now that the pain is gone, your nervous system is sounding a false alarm. It is screaming that you are dead because it cannot feel the drag. There are 3 specific ways you are trying to sabotage this flow to get your fix of turbulence back. I want you to listen closely because I am about to read your mind. First, you have become the sign seeker. You are constantly scanning your environment for angel numbers, feathers, or synchronous conversations. You are looking for ripples in the water to prove the water is there. But remember the physics. Ripples are a sign of disturbance. Ripples mean a stone has hit the water or the wind is agitating the surface. When you are the current, there are no ripples. You are the water itself. By desperately hunting for external signs, you are metaphorically sticking your hand into the laminar stream, trying to create a splash just to reassure yourself that the flow exists. You are introducing turbulence into a perfect system because you do not trust the silence. Second, you have become the shadow digger. You sit in meditation and you scan your body for trauma that is no longer there. You wake up feeling neutral, and you panic. You think, I must be suppressing something. I must be bypassing. So you grab a shovel and you start digging into the riverbed of your psyche, kicking up silt and mud, trying to find a demon to fight. You are trying to manufacture a problem because you only know how to identify yourself as the solver of problems. You do not know who you are when there is nothing to fix. This is a dangerous inefficiency. You are revisifying the flow. You are adding debris to the stream just to feel the familiar sensation of cleaning it up. Third, you are the manic manifester. You are trying to pump your state. You listen to high-energy music. You do intense breath work. You scream affirmations in the mirror, trying to spike your vibration. You believe that high emotion equals high attraction. But in fluid dynamics, high agitation increases drag. You are expending massive amounts of caloric and psychic energy to create waves. But waves do not move water forward. Waves just move energy up and down. Current moves water forward. By trying to force a high emotional peak, you are creating vertical oscillation when you need horizontal trajectory. You need to understand the true spiritual void meaning. It is not an empty space where God has abandoned you. It is a space that has been cleared of debris so that flow can occur without resistance. The void is the pipe. If the pipe were full of junk, the water could not move. The emptiness you feel is the structural capacity for high-volume delivery. You have spent years building this capacity. You asked for this. You asked to be free of the blocks. You asked to be free of the pain. And now that you are free, you are terrified of the open space you have created. You are experiencing a phantom limb syndrome of the ego. The ego used to live in the resistance. It lived in the story of the victim, the story of the warrior, the story of the one who overcomes. In laminar flow, there is no story. There is only trajectory. The ego has nothing to grab onto because the surfaces are too smooth. This boredom you feel is the ego dying of starvation. It is starving for drama. It is starving for a problem to solve. Let it starve. We need to redefine your relationship with trust. Up until now, you have only trusted your progress when it hurt. You looked at your wounds and said, "Look how hard I am fighting. I must be deserving of the reward." That is a transaction based on sacrifice. The post-observer phase is not based on sacrifice, it is based on physics. Do you trust your progress only when it hurts? Or can you trust it when it is easy? This is the hardest lesson for the high achiever. It is the realization that the struggle was the inefficiency. The struggle was the drag. Now that the drag is gone, the work is not to push harder. The work is to keep your hands off the wheel. The work is to endure the silence without trying to fill it with noise. You are experiencing the phenomenon of flow separation. In aerodynamics, when an object moves fast enough, the air flows so smoothly around it that a boundary layer is formed. Inside that boundary layer, everything is calm. Outside, the world might be rushing by at 1,000 miles an hour, but on the skin of the object, there is stillness. You are in the boundary layer. This is why the old tools are not working. You cannot use a hammer to speed up a stream of water. You cannot use shadow work to fix a state of being that is already clear. If you keep swinging the hammer, you will break the glass. You will disrupt the laminar perfection you have worked so hard to achieve. The Reynolds number of your life has dropped below the critical threshold. You have transitioned from turbulent flow to laminar flow. The rules of the first phase do not apply to the second. In the first phase, you needed to paddle. You needed to steer. You needed to push off the rocks. In the second phase, any movement you make creates drag. The most efficient thing you can do right now is to become aerodynamic. You must become smooth. You must become hollow. You must trust that the velocity is intrinsic to the current, not generated by your effort. If you are feeling dead inside, it is because you are looking for life in the friction. But life is not in the friction. Life is in the flow. The gray nothingness is not the end of the road. It is the color of the Autobahn. It is the color of the runway. You are waiting for the scenery to change, but you are moving so fast that the scenery has blurred into a single gray line. Stop trying to wake up. You are not asleep. You are simply moving at a speed that your primitive brain does not comprehend. The primitive brain understands walking. It understands running. It understands the physical sensation of wind on the face. It does not understand the pressurized cabin of a jet moving at 30,000 feet. Inside the cabin, the coffee in your cup does not ripple. The air is still. It feels like you are sitting in a living room. But outside the window, you are crossing continents. You are in the cabin. The spiritual void is the pressurized cabin. The boredom is the stability of the flight. The lack of synchronicities is the lack of turbulence. You have lifted off. You are no longer on the ground where the road signs are. You are in the air. Stop looking for stop signs in the clouds. Stop looking for confirmation in the atmosphere. This is the intellectual clarity you requested. The science is sound. The physics are undeniable. You are not stuck. You are streamlined. You are not broken. You are aerodynamic. The silence is not a punishment, it is the sound of zero drag. Now that your mind has a logical framework for this stillness, we can move to the somatic experience. We can stop fighting the void and start riding the current. But first, you must accept that the era of the warrior is over. The war is done. You won. Now you must learn how to live in the peace without burning the house down just to feel the heat. We need to rewrite the laws of your internal physics right now. For years, you have operated under a Newtonian fallacy that says force equals mass times acceleration. You believe that to keep moving, you must keep pushing. You think that if you stop applying force, the movement stops. In an atmosphere thick with resistance, that is true. If you stop pedaling a bike uphill, you fall backward. But you are not on a bike anymore, and you are not in an atmosphere. You have entered a vacuum. Think of a spacecraft traveling through the void of deep space. Once that ship reaches its cruising velocity, it cuts the engines, it turns them off completely. Does the ship stop? No, it continues to move at thousands of miles per hour, silently, effortlessly, forever, until it encounters a new gravitational field. This is the law of inertia. In a vacuum, velocity requires zero energy to sustain. It only requires energy to change course. You are treating your life like you are still fighting gravity, but you have already broken orbit. You are burning fuel in a vacuum. You are exhausted, not because the journey is long, but because you are running the engines at full throttle when you should be drifting. You wake up in a panic, feeling like you've forgotten to do your morning pages, or your visualization, or your breath work. You feel a phantom pressure, a need to make it happen. That pressure is not intuition, that is your addiction to drag. You have equated the sensation of struggle with the sensation of progress. If it doesn't hurt, you don't trust it. If you aren't exhausted, you think you aren't working. This is the paradigm shift. Effort is not a measure of speed. Effort is a measure of friction. If you are working hard right now, it means you are dragging against reality. You are creating turbulence. This changes everything about how you exist. First, it means the era of processing is over. For the last few years, you have been a demolition crew. You have been breaking down trauma, excavating shadows, clearing the debris. That was necessary work. It was the launch phase. But you cannot be a demolition crew forever. If you keep swinging the sledgehammer in a finished house, you are just destroying the architecture you built. You don't need to heal anymore. You need to stabilize. You need to stop picking at the scab to see if it's healed and just let the skin harden. This brings us to the most dangerous misconception you are holding, the idea of the manifestation plateau. You look at your life and you see a flat line. No drama, no highs, no lows. You Google spiritual void meaning or ask why things have stalled. You call it a plateau. Physics calls it aerodynamic lock-in. Think of a fighter jet breaking the sound barrier. In the moments before it hits Mach 1, the plane shakes violently. The steering is difficult, the air is resisting the object, that is the transition phase you just left. But the moment the jet punches through, the shaking stops. The cockpit becomes dead silent. The air flows smoothly over the wings. To the pilot, it feels like they have slowed down because the violence is gone. But the dial shows they are moving faster than sound. What you call a manifestation plateau is actually the moment your structural integrity aligned with your velocity. You aren't stuck. You are supersonic. The methodology has to change from the swimmer to the bobsledder. Watch a bobsled team at the start of a race. For the first 5 seconds, they are sprinters. They push, they scream, they run, they use explosive force to overcome static friction. That was your awakening. That was you reading the books and doing the work. But what happens once they jump into the sled? They tuck. They become small. They become still. If a bobsledder stands up in the middle of the tube to help the sled move faster, they create wind resistance. They slow the team down. They might even crash the sled. You are in the tube now. Your job is not to run. Your job is to tuck. Reduce your surface area. Minimize your emotional drag. Stop trying to help the universe by micromanaging the how. Every time you panic, you are standing up in the sled. Every time you doubt the silence, you are dragging your hand against the ice. This requires you to kill the identity of the fixer. You have prided yourself on being the one who works on themselves. You wear your inner work like a badge of honor, but a pipe does not work on itself. A pipe does not try to be the water. A pipe simply ensures it is hollow, straight, and unobstructed so the pressure can travel through it. You are transitioning from the builder to the conduit. The builder sweats. The conduit flows. The builder is obsessed with construction. The conduit is obsessed with clearance. Your only metric for success is no longer, how much did I do today? It is, how little resistance did I offer today? Did you let the day move through you, or did you try to grab it by the throat? The silence you feel is not an absence. It is the hum of a system running at 100% efficiency. Stop trying to fix what isn't broken. Tuck your head down, pull your arms in. Trust the physics of the slide. How do you measure velocity when there is no wind in your face? This is the most dangerous phase of the post-observer shift. It is dangerous because your old navigation system, the one built on trauma and struggle, relied on friction to tell you that you were moving. You knew you were making progress because it was hard. You knew you were doing the work because you were crying, releasing, and purging. The turbulence was your proof of life. Now, the turbulence is gone. And in its place you have nothing. You are looking for the wrong data. You are scanning your reality for splashes, for noise, for the big break. But we have established that splashes are evidence of inefficiency. In a laminar flow state, we do not look for the presence of excitement. We look for the absence of drag. We are going to audit your reality right now. I am going to give you 3 specific, counterintuitive indicators that confirm you have entered the laminar velocity point. These are symptoms that the uninitiated mistake for failure, but the density engineer recognizes as optimal aerodynamics. Sign number 1. The dopamine drop, or the great boringness. Let's be honest about what you are feeling. It isn't just calm. It feels like a flat line. You used to get excited about your vision boards. You used to get a rush when you thought about your future. Now, you look at your goals and you feel neutral. The old hobbies don't light you up. The old drama that used to keep you engaged feels repulsive. You might even feel a low-grade panic that you are losing your passion, or worse, slipping into depression. Listen closely. This is not depression. This is stabilization. For years, your nervous system has been running on a fuel mixture of cortisol and cheap dopamine. You were addicted to the high of the spiritual breakthrough because you were addicted to the low of the spiritual crisis. That oscillation, that up and down, is a high Reynolds number. It is chaotic flow. When you finally streamline your energy, when you remove the resistance of limiting beliefs and shadow loops, the turbulence stops. And because the turbulence stops, the adrenaline spikes stop. Think of it like a car. If you drive a rusted-out sedan at 60 miles per hour, the steering wheel shakes, the engine roars, and the windows rattle. You feel the speed. It feels intense. It feels like work. Now imagine stepping into a high-performance magnetic levitation train. It moves at 300 miles per hour, but the ride is perfectly smooth. It is silent. You can balance a coin on the armrest. If you closed your eyes, you wouldn't even know you were moving. You are currently sitting in that train. You are moving faster toward your reality than ever before, but because the rattle is gone, your brain thinks you have stopped. You are mistaking the lack of friction for a lack of motion. Do not try to manufacture excitement just to feel something. Do not poke the water to make ripples. If you are bored, it means your drag coefficient has dropped to 0. Sit in the neutrality. That gray feeling is the color of unchecked velocity. Sign number 2, the ghosting of reality. This is the phenomenon of sudden, non-negotiable desynchronization. You have noticed this happening. Relationships you've had for years have suddenly turned cold. Not necessarily hostile, just empty. There was no big fight, no dramatic betrayal. It's as if the magnet that held you together simply demagnetized. People stop calling. Plans get canceled. You reach out and the connection feels like a deadline. In the old paradigm, you would analyze this. You would dig into your shadow to find out why you are being rejected. Stop. This is not rejection. This is physics. It is a matter of viscosity. Viscosity is a measure of a fluid's resistance to flow, how thick or sticky it is. When you are in a state of high trauma or high attachment, your energy is viscous. It is sticky. You get stuck to people, and they get stuck to you. Even if the fit is bad, you are bonded by the shared friction. But you have done the work. You have lowered your viscosity. You have become superfluid. When you enter the laminar velocity point, you are moving at a frequency that has 0 hook for lower density objects to grab onto. The people falling away aren't leaving you. They are simply unable to maintain the structural integrity required to exist in your slipstream. They are sliding off the hull because there is no friction left to hold them. This brings us to the question that haunts so many of you in this phase. I see this search query constantly. Why did my synchronicities stop? You used to see 11 everywhere. You used to see feathers, coins, specific animal totems. You relied on them. They were your breadcrumbs. And now? Silence. The clock is just a clock. The birds are just birds. You feel abandoned by the universe. Here's the reframe. Synchronicities are road signs. They are reassurance markers for the slow walker. They are there to tell the confused traveler, yes, keep going this way. When you are on a high-speed train moving at maximum velocity on a fixed track, you do not need road signs. You do not need a signpost every mile telling you that you are on the train. You are the train. The universe has stopped giving you external validation because you have integrated the internal destination. The signal has stopped because the connection is no longer dial-up. It is a direct fiber optic hardline. You don't need the breadcrumbs anymore. You have the loaf. If your reality has gone quiet, and the people are falling away, and the signs have dried up, do not panic. You are not isolated. You are aerodynamic. If you are realizing right now that your loneliness is actually just exclusivity, I want you to subscribe to this channel. We are building the manual for the silence. Most teachers will tell you how to get loud. We are decoding the physics of the quiet. Subscribe to master the mechanics of the post-observer phase. Sign number 3, time compression and the blur. The final piece of evidence is a distortion in your temporal perception. You look at the calendar and realize it is Friday, but you have no emotional memory of Wednesday or Thursday. The weeks are dissolving. You feel like you are waking up, doing a few things, and suddenly it is night again. You might say, I feel like I'm losing time. You might feel like life is rushing past you and you aren't savoring it. This is a hallmark of the laminar state. We perceive time through friction. We measure days by the events, the conflicts, the problems, the emotional spikes. These are the markers that make a day feel long. A day full of problems feels like a year. When you remove the drag, when you remove the problems, the anxiety loops, the resistance, you remove the friction markers that your brain uses to measure time. Without the friction, you experience time compression. Think of an astronaut in cryosleep, or a passenger on a long-haul flight who sleeps through the journey. The distance traveled is massive. The perceived time is zero. The void you feel, that blurring of days, is the universe putting you into a metabolic hibernation while it transports you across a quantum distance that would tear your old self apart. You are warping. The reality around you is re-rendering. The old assets are being deleted and the new assets haven't loaded in high resolution yet. That is why everything looks a bit blurry, a bit fast, and a bit dreamlike. So, let's review the evidence of your failure. You're bored? Good. That means you are stable. You are lonely? Good. That means you are smooth. You are losing track of time? Good. That means you are traveling fast. You have not stalled. You have simply exceeded the speed at which your old sensors can register data. You are flying faster than the speed of sound, and that is why you can no longer hear the noise of your own life. Do not brake now. Do not introduce turbulence just to feel safe. We need to anchor this state in the body so you can stop bracing for a crash that isn't coming. You have the intellectual blueprint. You understand the Reynolds number. You understand that silence is not stagnation, it is speed. But understanding the physics of laminar flow is useless if your biology is still vibrating with the turbulence of the old struggle. You cannot install a high-velocity operating system into high-drag hardware. The friction will burn you out. So we are going to fix the hardware. We are not going to meditate in the traditional sense. We are not trying to float away or escape the body. We are doing the opposite. We are going to engineer your internal state for zero drag. We are going to manually lower your Reynolds number until your energy moves like that glass rod stream of water, perfectly still on the surface, moving at impossible speeds underneath. Put your phone down. Sit upright. Do not slouch. Slouching is a collapsed structure. It creates eddies in the flow. You need a spine that acts as a conduit, a straight pipe for the current to travel through. Close your eyes. Take a breath. Do not force it. Forcing the breath is turbulence. Just observe the intake. Right now, your body is likely holding on to micro-frictions. These are the physical echoes of your anxiety. They act like jagged rocks in a riverbed. When the current of your life hits them, it splashes. It creates noise, it creates white water. That noise is what you call stress. That splashing is what you call doubt. We are going to find those rocks. We are going to smooth them down. We are going to streamline the vessel. Phase 1. Scanning for turbulence. Bring your attention to the top of your head. We are going to scan down inch by inch looking for drag. Drag manifests as tightness. It manifests as holding. It manifests as a subtle clench that you don't even realize you're doing because you have been fighting the current for so long. Scan your forehead. Is it smooth, or is there a ripple of worry there? That ripple is resistance. It disrupts the air. Smooth it out. Scan your jaw. The jaw is where we hold the words we didn't say and the anger we didn't release. A clenched jaw is a dam. It stops the flow. Drop the jaw. Create space. Let the water pass through. Move down to the shoulders. This is where most of you carry the weight of the transition. You are holding your shoulders up as if you are bracing for impact. But there is no impact coming. You are in the open water now. Drop them. Let gravity do the work. Scan the chest. Is your breathing shallow? Shallow breathing is inefficient. It creates a chaotic, choppy rhythm. Deepen the stroke. Make the breath long, slow, and hydraulic. Scan the stomach, the solar plexus. This is the engine room. Is it knotted? A knot is a blockage. A knot creates a vortex of wasted energy. Find the tension in your hips, the tension in your legs. Every point of tension you find is a drag coefficient. It is a mathematical subtraction from your velocity. You are trying to move forward, but these anchor points are creating friction against the reality you are trying to enter. Locate the single tightest point in your body right now. The one place that refuses to let go. Focus on it. Phase 2, streamlining the vessel. Now I want you to visualize your energy not as light, but as water. Heavy, clear, powerful water. See this water flowing down through the crown of your head. It is cool. It is relentless. Direct this flow toward that tight spot, that rock in the river. In the old way of thinking, you would try to break the block. You would attack it. But violence creates turbulence. We do not attack, we erode. Watch the water flow over the tension. Watch it glide over the jagged edges of that stress. As the water passes over it, see the edges beginning to round off. The rock is becoming a pebble. The friction is disappearing. Breathe into it. With every exhale, the water moves faster, and the rock gets smoother. You are applying the principle of streamlining. You are reducing the surface area that fear can grip onto. Feel the sensation of smoothing out. It feels like a cool release. It feels like the knot is untying itself, not because you pulled it, but because it slipped loose in the current. Do this for every part of you that feels heavy. Let the water wash over it until there is nothing for the world to grab onto. You are becoming aerodynamic. You are becoming slick. If a doubt tries to enter your mind right now, watch it try to grab hold of you. It can't. You are too smooth, it slides right off. This is the state of zero viscosity. Phase 3, entering the laminar state. Now that the channel is clear, we increase the volume. Imagine the stream of water flowing through you is doubling in pressure. But, and this is the key, it does not get louder, it gets quieter. Recall the image of the laminar flow. The water moving so fast it looks like glass. It looks frozen. I want you to mimic this frequency in your body. On the outside, your physical body is stone still. You are a statue. Not a muscle twitches. You are the glass surface. But on the inside, perceive the movement. Feel the tremendous velocity of your intent flowing from above your head, down through your spine and into the earth. It is moving at 1,000 miles an hour. But there is no vibration. There is no shaking. Because there is no resistance. This is what the void actually feels like. It isn't empty. It is full of power that has stopped wasting itself on noise. Feel the paradox. Complete stillness, maximum velocity. You are a conduit. You are a high-pressure pipe. The universe is flowing through you, and because you have removed the drag, you don't impede it. You don't distort it. You just deliver it. Sit in this. This is the laminar velocity point. It might feel strange, it might feel like you've disappeared. That is good. That means you have stopped interacting with the friction of the old reality. You have ghosted the turbulence. You are not waiting for the manifestation. You are the current that brings it. Feel the dignity of this state. It isn't manic. It isn't high vibes. It is deep, heavy, inevitable power. It is the feeling of a submarine moving silently in the deep ocean. Nothing can stop it, because nothing knows it's there until it arrives. Phase 4, the lock-in. We need to anchor this. We need to save this configuration so you can recall it when the world tries to make you turbulent again. Focus on your solar plexus, the area right below your ribcage. Visualize a sphere of this clear, glassy water there, spinning rapidly but perfectly smooth. I want you to physically tighten your core slightly, just a micro movement. Lock it in. As you do, repeat this command internally. Do not just say words, encode them into your operating system. I move without friction. I arrive without effort. Silence is my speed. Feel that truth harden in your gut. You do not need to struggle to get to where you are going. Struggle is a sign of bad aerodynamics. You have fixed the aerodynamics. You are now designed for arrival. Take a deep breath in, filling the cylinder of your body. Hold it. Feel the pressure. Feel the stillness. Exhale slowly, smoothly. No stutter in the breath. The return. Keep your eyes closed for a moment longer. You are about to open your eyes and return to the room, but you are not returning as the same person who closed them. You are returning with a lower Reynolds number. When you open your eyes, the world might look a bit sharper, a bit quieter. You might feel a sense of detachment. Do not panic. That detachment is your armor. It is the slippery surface that prevents the drama of the day from sticking to you. Carry this glassy feeling with you. When someone speaks to you with aggression, let it slide off the glass. When a problem arises, flow around it. Do not become turbulent. Maintain your velocity. Open your eyes. Look around you. Notice the stillness. You created that. I want you to take a moment and check the sensory data of that experience. In the comments, I want you to answer one question to ground this. What color was your water? Was it crystal clear? Was it deep ocean blue? Was it liquid silver? Type it out. My water was color. This isn't just a comment. It is you validating the reality of the structure you just built. You are streamlined now. Let's look at how to maintain this in a world that is addicted to friction. We have calibrated your internal state. You have felt the difference between the noise of the trying and the silence of the being. Now we must operationalize this. We must take this hydrodynamic principle and apply it to the messy, friction-heavy reality of your daily life. You are no longer a tugboat pushing against the tide. You are a high-speed vessel moving in a frictionless vacuum. But here is the danger. When you are moving at this velocity, even a microscopic piece of debris can cause catastrophic drag. In the past, when you were moving slowly, when you were deep in the healing phase, you could afford to be messy. You could afford clutter, unresolved conversations, and loose ends because you weren't going anywhere fast. Resistance is negligible at low speeds. But now, you are in the post-observer phase. The physics have changed. In fluid dynamics, there is a concept called parasitic drag. It is resistance caused by the shape of the object moving through the fluid. As velocity increases, parasitic drag increases exponentially. A tiny protrusion that didn't matter at 10 miles per hour becomes a violent source of turbulence at 500 miles per hour. This brings us to tool number 1, the drag reduction protocol. This is not about cleaning your room because your mother told you to. This is about aerodynamics. Your physical environment and your digital obligations are the hull of your ship. If that hull is covered in barnacles, you cannot enter laminar flow. You will generate noise, and that noise will collapse the wave function of your manifestation. I want you to look at your life right now with the cold, analytical eye of an engineer. Where is the friction? You have been ignoring a specific pile of papers on the corner of your desk for 3 weeks. You walk past it, and every single time your subconscious mind snags on it. That is a micro-vortex. That is turbulence. You have a text message you haven't replied to because the conversation is uncomfortable. You think you are delaying it. You aren't. You are carrying it. That is energetic weight. That is drag. You have a broken handle on a drawer, a light bulb that flickers, a subscription you keep meaning to cancel. These seem like trivialities. They are not. In the Laminar Velocity Point, these are structural breaches. Your mission today is to conduct a friction audit. Walk through your house, scroll through your phone, identify the snags. Anything that causes a micro spike of cortisol, anything that makes you sigh, anything that you have to step around mentally or physically, that is an aerodynamic flaw. Fix it. Respond to the text. Throw away the papers. Fix the handle. Not to be good, but to be smooth. You are smoothing out the hull of your reality so that the universe can flow over you without snagging. When you eliminate physical drag, you eliminate the subconscious processing power required to ignore it. You reclaim that energy for velocity. This leads directly to down tool number 2, the velocity anchor. This tool is designed to handle the most dangerous part of this phase, the panic of the void. We spoke about how the silence feels like stagnation. Your brain, evolved for survival, equates quiet with stalked. When the drama stops, when the struggle ends, your nervous system starts looking for the threat. It starts scanning for problems that aren't there, just to feel useful. You will feel the urge to poke the water. You will feel the urge to pick a fight, to doom scroll, to obsess over a lack of movement. This is your old identity trying to reestablish friction, because friction feels familiar. Friction feels like work. You need a cognitive override. You need a velocity anchor. This is a perception tool. It is a reframing mechanism you must deploy the second you feel the anxiety of nothing is happening. Here is the mechanics of how to trust the universe. You do not trust the emotion, you trust the physics. When you are in an airplane at cruising altitude, 35,000 feet up, moving at 600 miles per hour, what does it feel like? It feels like you are sitting in a chair in a living room. It feels like nothing. If you didn't look out the window, you would swear you were stationary. But if you were to open the door, you would be obliterated by the speed. The silence you are feeling is the cruising altitude. So when the anxiety hits, when the boredom tries to convince you that you have failed, you must anchor yourself in the truth of the flow. Close your eyes. Visualize the laminar pipe, that glass-like frozen stream of water. Say to yourself, this is not stagnation, this is speed. This command stops the brain from breaking. It stops you from creating artificial turbulence just to prove you are alive. It allows you to sit in the cockpit, hands off the controls, trusting the trajectory. You are retraining your nervous system to accept peace as a high-performance state, rather than a state of laziness. You are not waiting, you are traveling. The difference is only in your perception of the blur. And finally, we must address how you steer when you are moving this fast. This is tool number 3, the micro adjustment. When you are driving a car at 5 miles per hour in a parking lot, you have to wrench the steering wheel 360 degrees just to turn a corner. It requires massive effort to change direction. This is what your life used to be like. You had to use massive force, massive affirmations, massive emotional catharsis just to shift your reality 1 inch. But think about a Formula 1 driver moving at 200 miles per hour. Do they wrench the wheel? No. If they turned the wheel even 20 degrees, the car would disintegrate. They would crash. At high velocity, steering becomes a game of millimeters. A tiny twitch of the wrist changes the trajectory by miles down the track. You are now in the high velocity zone. This means you must stop making massive, jerking movements in your life. I know you feel the urge to blow it all up. You feel the silence, you feel the void, and you think, I need to quit my job today. Or, I need to end this relationship right now. Or, I need to move to a new country to start over. Stop. That is a low-velocity maneuver applied to a high-velocity state. You will crash. Because you are in laminar flow, you are highly sensitive to input. You don't need explosions anymore. You need micro-adjustments. Instead of quitting the job in a rage, change the way you write your emails, change your posture in the meeting, shift your intention by 1%. Instead of overhauling your entire diet overnight, drink 1 glass of water with intention. These tiny shifts, applied to a system moving at maximum velocity, compound instantly. The lever is long now. You don't need force, you need precision. If you are feeling the drag, if you are feeling the urge to burn down the silence, I want you to engage the drag reduction protocol immediately. Do not touch the heavy machinery of your life while you are acclimating to this speed. Just clear the path. If you are ready to commit to this level of precision, if you are ready to stop fighting the water and start becoming the current, I want you to anchor this right now. Go to the comments and type zero drag. Type it as a command to your subconscious. You are telling your system that you are done with the friction. You are done with the addiction to the struggle. You are clearing the hull. You are retracting the landing gear. You are engaging the physics of the inevitable. Zero drag. Feel the weight of that commitment. You are clearing the space for the timeline to rush in. You have graduated from the mechanics of struggle. You are no longer a seeker. You are a vessel of low resistance. You have spent years engaged in the friction of becoming, paddling, splashing, fighting the viscosity of your own doubts. That phase is over. By understanding the physics of laminar flow, you have learned that silence is not empty. It is full of speed. You have learned that the absence of drama is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of efficiency. You are now a conduit. The drag is gone. The turbulence has settled. But this brings us to the edge of the river. We have discussed the physics of the stream, how to move through reality with maximum velocity. But streams do not flow forever. They have a destination. The pipe eventually opens up. The specific trajectory you have been traveling on, that narrow, high-speed tunnel of manifestation, is leading you somewhere specific. It is leading you to the ocean. This is the limitation of the fluid dynamics metaphor we have used today. Laminar flow explains the movement of the individual stream. It explains how you get there, but it does not explain what you become when you arrive. Think of a river entering the sea. As long as it is in the riverbed, it has a distinct identity. It has a specific velocity. It has banks that define it. But the moment that perfectly smooth, glassy water hits the open ocean, the physics change again. The individual velocity dissolves into holographic unity. You are currently in the final stretch of the river. That is why the silence feels so profound. You are deep, you are fast, and you are nearing the mouth of the delta. You feel like you are disappearing because, in a very real sense, the you that needed to fight for things is dissolving. You are not losing yourself. You are losing your separation. This is the terrifying beauty of the post-observer phase. You stop observing the water because you are becoming the water. You have mastered the art of individual velocity, moving yourself from point A to point B without drag. The next horizon is holographic unity. This is where we move from fluid dynamics to quantum entanglement. In the ocean, a drop of water does not need to travel to the other side of the world to know what is happening there. It is connected through the pressure and the salt and the temperature of the whole. It doesn't need speed anymore, it has presence. You have felt this recently. A flash of knowing that didn't come from a book. A feeling of connection to someone you haven't spoken to in years. This is not the stream moving you toward them. This is the ocean revealing that you were never separate. This is where we are going next. We are going to take this zero drag state you have cultivated and drop it into the infinite scale. We are going to explore why, when you stop resisting your own life, you suddenly become entangled with the entire universe. The next transmission will break down the holographic principle. We will decode the physics of how the part contains the whole. We will explain why you don't need to attract anything, because you are already the container for everything. But for now, stay in the stream. Do not fear the boredom. Do not fear the gray, neutral silence. That is the sound of a perfectly aerodynamic hull slicing through the ether. It is the sound of you becoming inevitable. You are moving faster than you know. Your trajectory is locked in. The drag is zero. The engine is off, but the momentum is absolute. Keep your surface glassy. Keep your depth moving. I'll see you in the ocean.